Welcome back to another episode. Today, I wanted to talk about something that I think is one of those things that we're speculating on. People may think it's going to happen, may not think it's going to happen. Origin story in the MCU. Now, we do know that we're obviously going to get a third installment in the Spider-Man franchise after the whole Sony Marvel kerfuffle of the argument or whatever it was. We now have definite confirmation that Spider-Man Spidey will be back for another outing, and this basically begs a serious question that I think people are consistently wondering whether or not they'll do it. I don't think it's necessary, but let's get into this. After reading an article that I found on Screen Rant, okay, it leaves you wondering, should we have a Spider-Man Tom Holland origin story told to us in the way that only Marvel movies can, the MCU, the only way they can do it? Or should we just skip over this entirely and understand, or should the MCU and should Marvel understand that we already know Peter Parker's backstory? Now, the argument for that is simple. We've seen Peter's origins twice, okay? We know that Uncle Ben died. With great power comes great responsibility. That line is quoted so often because that movie was so incredible, had such a big impact. And it basically just proved, we know Peter Parker's backstory. We know if that's the story that they're going to go with, okay? We know that's why he chooses to be a hero. We understand this, okay? The question is there more to Peter's choice to become a hero than this? Do we need to learn a bit more from the actual origin story? Is there an origin story arc that has not been explored in the comics that the MCU may be able to bring to life that we haven't seen, that we should see? And honestly, do we need to learn of Peter's origins again? That's the question that I think that a lot of people are wondering. Do we really need to know about his origins again? We've seen it, like I said, twice in the Spider-Man movie, the original one, and then I think we also saw it in the Amazing Spider-Man as well. So we don't need another origin story, I don't think. This is what I think that we will do, right? It's obviously not, to me, necessary. I think we've seen it and it's been done, okay? And, it's happened so many times already, twice. I know that we don't need this thing again, but there is so much that can be explored in this idea in the MCU, obviously, because Tom Holland's Peter Parker is different to the other Peter Parkers, which is good. He seems, more of a child, more fun-loving, and more of a, that real Spider-Man-esque kind of character, okay? And I think that there's so much that Tom Holland he gives to this role and that he can give to a portrayal of the origin story. But here's what I would suggest. If this is going to happen, this is what I would suggest. We do not need another beginning movie like a prequel to the other two films. It's not necessary. What I would think that they would do, and this would be smart if they were gonna do this, and especially if this is the trilogy, you'd link it back to the beginning because that's generally how the third movie goes. The potential option there would be having flashbacks, okay, telling portions of this story, the origin story, obviously, without giving us the origin story as a whole. So link it to whatever's happening now after part 2, and whatever could be crazy about that. I think that would be an amazing way to do an origin story. You could give us the Marvel version of Uncle Ben, right? Although quietly, I loved Uncle Ben in the original Tobey Maguire masterpiece. Just gonna say that right now. But honestly, a MCU Uncle Ben in flashbacks only would be really interesting to see who would portray that. How would the chemistry between him, this potential Uncle Ben, and Marissa Tomei be? That's something that I think is interesting because you've always seen, Aunt May is incredibly nice and caring and loving, and obviously she loves Uncle Ben. So that would be really interesting to see as well, just to see how that would work and how they would work with Tom Holland maybe, or another junior, character who's playing obviously a younger version of Tom Holland. So that I think is something that they could play on, that they could utilize for the third film, because obviously, the third films generally come full circle as a trilogy. That's how they try and do stuff. I think, this is something that we don't really need, but if they're going to put this in, then I feel like it has to be flashbacks. You can't have it be basically an origin story to be a prequel to this. That would just be silly. Again, to me, unnecessary, not required, but it is a question that I think we need to ask, so I'm going to put this one to you guys. Do you think that we need to have a Spider-Man origin story for the MCU? Could we even link it to the Iron Man 2 sequence, which I believe it's been confirmed that Peter Parker was the young boy in that movie, which a lot of people were speculating about. Could we link it to that? I think it would be very interesting, especially after Endgame. and everything that happened there. So definitely let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you have not already, consider subscribing, consider liking, and consider letting me know what you think. That would be great. Otherwise, when you step away from the screen that you're using to watch this or listen to this video, please make sure you spread some peace, spread some love, and as always, guys, spread that positivity like the plague. I will see you in the next one. Bye.